Size, super simple recipes, number 47. Baklava. I first came across baklava in the 1970s in a restaurant, a Greek restaurant in West London, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I bought it quite a few times since, but today I'm actually going to make some. It originated in the Ottoman Empire sometime between 1300 AD and 1920. And at various times, the Ottoman Empire stretched from Hungary through the whole of Greece, Turkey, Syria, the West Bank, and through into the Sinai and Egypt and parts of North Africa. So it was a vast empire, and this has meant that the recipe has got various subtle changes. But basically, it's a confection made of phyllo pastry stuffed with nuts and then soaked in honeys and syrups and a couple of different flavourings. So what I've got at the moment is I've got 2 parts pistachios, 1 part walnuts and 1 part pecans. You can of course just make it with any single one of those. And the first thing we've got to do is to blitz this so that it becomes finely chopped but not actually a paste. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is to blitz these a bit. You have to excuse the noise. And that's sort of the consistency we want. We could go a little bit more. As I say, I don't really want to make it into a paste. I will give it one more blitz because there's some quite large chunks still left there. There we are. So we're going to get those into a bowl. And then into there, I'm going to pop about a dessert spoon of lemon juice, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 2 or 3 tablespoons of honey. And then we're going to bind them all together and then set them aside for later. Another little blast. And that's the filling for our phyllo pastry. You'll find that if you go and buy baklava nowadays, it comes in a variety of shapes, sizes and designs, but we're just going to make a really simple one. Right, we'll set that aside now and move on to the next section. Okay, in here I've got half a pat of melted butter, and I'm going to add to that just a touch of oil. I'm using olive oil, but you can use vegetable oil, or you can leave it out. To be honest, all it does is to plasticise the butter a little bit and stop it setting before we're ready to use it. I've got a greased baking tray. Now, if you're a masochist, you can make your own filo pastry, but I can't be asked to sit around rolling it out paper thin, so I'm using a pack of pre-rolled filo. Now, I've already cut this sort of into sheets which hopefully will be almost the correct size. So we start with a sheet, and that goes straight into the bottom of our pan. And I'm going to put a couple of these strips to use it up. We're going to go that way. We're going to go that way. And every 2 layers, drizzle over some of the butter. That'll all cook out as we go along. I'll see if I can get a bigger piece of this, which I have cut to the correct size. It is quite fiddly, but not a difficult recipe, just fiddly. There we are. Get one of these. And you now simply keep building this up until you've got at least 6 layers. So I'll come back once I've got 6 layers built up. Put these ones on. More butter. You can see the process. And as I say, this will all cook out once if you try to brush it, it tends to disturb the pastry that's already there. So I'll carry on with this now until I've built up enough layers. So our first 6 layers are on. Now we're going to take our nut mixture and we're going to start laying this on and try to flatten it down so we get a good, reasonably even layer. Once we've done this, we start layering up again until we've used up the whole pack of phyllo, which should be another 6 or 7 layers on the top. So once again, 2 layers at a time and some butter, and I'll come back once I've layered this lot up as well. All the phyllo is now in. But we now need to try and cut this into portions, which can sometimes be a bit difficult, but we'll give it a go. So I'm going to use this is just this is a cutter for herbs, which I sometimes find works a bit easier when you're trying to do it this way. Then any remaining butter can be poured over the whole thing. So that's ready for the oven now. And that's going to go in at 190 for 20 minutes, then we'll reduce it down to 150 and we'll cook it for an additional 45 minutes. So I'll come back. Okay, the oven's up to temperature, so that's going to go straight in there at 190 for 20 minutes. Then we'll turn it down to 150. In the meantime, it's time to make our syrup. So into the pan goes about 300 ml of plain water. Into that I'm putting 400 of golden caster sugar. I'm adding good glug of lemon juice. This is orange blossom water, which is just another flavour that they tend to use. If I can open the bottle. God, they make these almost impossible to get open. Come on. No idea why they make these so difficult to open. There we are. Couple of those. And I'm also going to add to that half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and what might seem a little bit strange, I'm going to pop in there a quarter teaspoon of ground cardamom. If I can open this packet as well. They try to make things as difficult as possible to get open. just a tiny bit, and then we bring that up to the boil. Once that's boiled, it's ready. I've seen some recipes that call for boiling this for like 8 minutes, and there's no need. I'll come back once the first 20 minutes in the oven's up, and this has come up to a boil. So it's had 20 minutes in the oven. Just going to lift it out and have a look, and then we'll reduce the temperature down. It's starting to come good. Right, so temperature dropped down to 150. And that can go back in the oven to cook right through, so I'm going to give that another 40 minutes, and I'll come back once that's done. So our baklava's had an extra 40 minutes in the oven, and that's now cooked. So the final stage is to take our cinnamon syrup and carefully ladle it all over. And the idea is to let this go completely cold, so that all of that syrup soaks into the baklava, and you end up with a really gooey, unctuous preserve. And any that's left over I'll pop in a jug in the fridge, because I've got another tray this size which I'll make later. So I'll leave that and let all that soak in. And when it's gone cold, we'll come back and we'll cut a few out and see what they're like.